2013. We're currently in session. We could all rise for Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if we could just remain standing for a minute, for a moment of silence, given the significance of today. I don't need to articulate why. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Frank G. Lindsay had a great Flag Day ceremony today.
They always do.
And BV is having one on Friday.
You guys are killing what I'm supposed to end with here.
Start with the end.
There you go. So we'll just go straight in. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Are there any items people would like to pull?
Yes, I'd like to pull action
General 1?
General 3-1. Yes.
3 point.
Password is.
You have a special password.
Are there any others?
All those numbers and letters.
Ladies and gentlemen, nothing? Can I get a motion to approve the other items on the agenda? All those in favor? So if then action general 3.1 is it was a listing of I'm sorry, I guess I missed that page. It is the
impartial hearing officers.
Partial hearing officers.
And there's
to approve them
Right.
for our districts.
a
So,
list that's
for New York State.
for New York State and for Westchester, and I'm on that list, so I certainly would not be a hearing officer in this district, but I'm abstaining from this vote. So.
Absolutely. So can I get a motion to approve other than that? All those in favor? One abstention, please. So that brings us to our, I'm sorry, Charles, I won't blow this time, our donations. And there was one donation, and again, it was a donation for the Katzensteins. The Katzenstein scholarship program, and again, that is for special ed students. It's $520. It doesn't indicate who the individual or individuals are who contributed, but we thank you very much, whoever did. It's very important, and it really helps. I believe it's summer camp for children, so with significant handicapping conditions. So those kids, it's almost as important, or more important. So just to be with all the other kids and be like everybody else. So thank you very much.
An anonymous donation?
There's nobody indicated as being the contributor. So could I get a motion to approve this donation?
So moved.
All those in favor? So that would bring us to audience comments. Nothing? Okay. Then we go straight to our superintendent's report. Wow.
We have arrived.
That's right.
You have.
Well, we have opened school in very successful fashion. Last week, Tuesday and Wednesday, we had staff in the buildings for both district and school-specific training. We had a barbecue to welcome everyone and kick off the school year. A lot of great compliments to both Enrique and Anthony Merlini on the conditions of the grounds. We have deployed our staff to give special attention to making sure that each school and facility was extra ready to welcome students, and the facilities look fantastic. The hallways, the cafeterias, everything. Highlight for me was to be able to meet everyone and be in all of our schools over the last 3 days. We had some outstanding events over the last couple days. I participated in the Buchanan-Verplanck PTA meeting last night, where it began with a question and answer session in the spirit of the Common Core, that among the many shifts that our students are experiencing in the new curriculum is one is being able to identify evidence-based questions. So a group of fifth graders did their research on me through various publications of the district.
Uh-oh.
And they asked very targeted and specific questions based on those publications. They asked about my dogs. They asked about the house hunt. They asked about being a high school principal and playing music and all sorts of really cool things. So it was a great way to introduce me to the BVPTA in a really unique and authentic way, and that was very, very special. Our APPR has been submitted, and we're waiting for feedback from the state. Alice led that effort with the various unions to make sure that we met timelines and all of the other craziness that APPR demands. So over the course of the next few weeks or months, I'm sure we'll receive feedback and have to recertify and make sure we're up to speed for the current school year. Our athletic teams have begun. We have a few football injuries where our athletic director is working with the coaching staff, whether we move some players up from JV to varsity. There are other districts in our region that are considering merging both teams, JV and varsity, because of participation numbers. So I'll keep the board apprised in the direction that we go. We're down to just over 20 players on the varsity team because of some injuries. Now some are season ending. A couple students have had some significant injuries that will keep them out the rest of the year. Some are just day-to-day nicks and scratches. But in the athletic update, our Hall of Fame dinner is October 18th, and our homecoming game is October 19th. We'll send information out to the board to see if you can participate. We have a district-wide cleanup day, September 21st. This was born out of last year's PTA Council. So each school has assembled a team and have identified a series of sponsors to support each school's cleanup of their buildings and grounds. So board members that are available on the 21st, you can pick your favorite school, which I know you don't have a favorite school, but you could pick a school and wear your clothes to get dirty in and support each school's team to beautify their grounds as a way of giving back to the community and some community service. We have two really outstanding student celebrations I'd like to talk about. Yesterday we received notification that two of our students from our high school are National Merit Scholarship semifinalists. And that is a really, really, really big achievement. Elizabeth Feller and Owen Kephart
Was a surprise.
they were identified and celebrated today in the high school. Mr. Mackin met with them and contacted their family, so that's really exciting. We'll have some press release and information out to the public tomorrow morning, since this was under lock and key for quite some time. And we've also had a number of our music students be selected for a series of different awards and opportunities to play in some elite groups. We have 4 students that will attend the All-State Conference in Rochester in December. They were selected among students across the state to participate in vocal groups and also instrumental groups. 2 of our students are alternates, so we have 6 total students that will go and represent our district. And we have a series of students, 3 students that auditioned for the American Choral Directors Association choir, yes, at their annual conference. There was in Baltimore. So later this year, 3 HenHUD students will attend this national conference among choral directors and participate in a very, very elite group. And we're working on that press release, and we'll get that out shortly. We took pictures today, and we're finishing the write-up. So although we're back to school and getting back into our routine, we have a lot to celebrate, and more good news to come.
Wonderful. Doing well.
That's what it's all about.
Oh, that's the whole point.
And see, if you'd been at the BVPTA meeting night, you would have got that advance information early.
Well, I guess I should just stick to like the PTA meetings that I'm signed up for. I'm sure we'll have good news from those. So thank you very much. That brings us to committee reports. I don't believe we've had a lot of committee meetings up till then. Facilities, I'm sure we'll work with our next step. We will be discussing actually our committee assignments, but I think we'll do that after the presentation. So we'll go straight to our presentation, which would be David White, and you'll be with him, or just David?
Yeah, I'll set up David. We had a discussion a couple weeks ago about ongoing deliberations about a proposed bond, and the Facilities Committee met and identified potential costs and potential projects, and left that discussion with a desire to receive more feedback from the community. That in around January, February of 2012, the board asked David to administer a survey to gain feedback from the public on their perceptions of the bond that was voted down in December of 2011, but also to identify if there were any interests or potential opportunities for a future bond to be successful.
Or concerns.
And concerns. So David constructed a survey. We received some outstanding feedback, which was shared with the committee and the board, and would like to have a discussion, among other things right now, about going out with another survey to gauge the temperature of the community in supporting a future bond to address the facilities, to address our technology needs, and also perhaps to address items that the public identified an interest in back in 2012, renovating some classrooms in the elementary and middle school, renovating some renovations to the high school auditorium. So hopefully at the end of our discussion with David, we'll have some direction from the board in terms of going out with another survey and identifying a timeline so that the board could use the feedback to determine if it's a good time to go out with another bond, and if so, what items should be up for consideration for a vote. So with that, I'll invite David White, our resident surveyor and statistician, to help us have this discussion.
Can I get that presentation up, or is that?
I think you can. Let me see how I can do that.
Working on it.
Yeah, let me work on it. The one you sent,
The one I emailed to you a couple of 3 weeks ago.
yeah.
Briefly, the intention here is to sort of serve as a fairly simple check on the just as we did the last time and the time before that, on the community's receptivity towards various bond issues.
Anthony, open yours. Anthony, wait a minute. Let him just go in.
Well,
Open up his
electronic
email,
stuff,
right?
Just to briefly review what we've done in the past, it's sort of the prologue and gives you an idea how reliable or not reliable this current effort might be. We started doing surveys in 2002. We used a telephone method there in 2002 and 2004. Followed that up in 2007, so we have 5 or 6 years worth of back information. Previous efforts had more to do with strategic planning than with specific bond issues, but in 2007 we covered the turf bond issue at that point that was later put forth to the community in 2008, and the results of the survey seemed to parallel the community reaction fairly well. 2012, we did a similar thing. I say similar because none of these surveys have been religiously identical in terms of the way they're conducted. It doesn't, given the size of the community and the amount of finances that we don't want to put behind this, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to read too much into the technological and methodological differences we're doing from year to year. In 2012, as Dr. Hochreiter, or Mr. Hochreiter says, we did the sort of a post-vote survey to figure out what seemed to go on. And the idea is that we can follow up on some of these ideas here. Great. Now, when I wrote this, we had 2 separate bond proposals. We can do 3 or 4, as many different ideas as the board sees fit. ones that I understand are the most important, the most crucial, are the septics and the computer systems, computer network. The notion of community support here is, it's a pretty broad thing. We're not looking for an exact percentage vote, because that's going to vary depending on a lot of variables that a survey of this nature can't follow. What we're trying to look at is there a big swing one way or the other, and why is it there? And we seem to get pretty usable data in the past if you look at it in that light. The two previous bond issues were voted up or down reasonably consistently with what the surveys did before. Now, I'm not sure this is due to anything but luck, but it's somewhat reassuring. I've seen worse.
David?
Yeah?
Go back. On the 2008, when you have 4 bonds, that was just for one specific part. We had 2 bonds that passed that year.
That's correct. The major part, the big dollar value bond, if memory serves, was the turf.
No.
No, it wasn't.
No,
It was
the-
playgrounds, it was playgrounds, and it was
XL.
safety, it was doors, it was those, and then
It
the
was an
turf went
XL,
down.
there was, it was 12, the turf was only 1.5 or 2
There were 3
million.
pieces of it.
There were
It
3
was
In
an
pieces.
XL.
you're talking about 2011, 2012, or are you
No,
talking about
2008.
2008?
It was the 3-piece, it was an Excel, it was the
There was an Excel,
there
and
was
then
the
there was
Excel, there was
a
the
lighting and.
essentially it was the playgrounds, which was 4.6, and then there was turf, and the two went, and then the turf went down.
I don't
Open it.
recall. My recollection is a little bit vague, but my recollection is that Excel was not. That was an even Steven thing from the district's point of view. I mean, we're going to get the money.
Yeah, we got the money back.
No,
but
you
believe
had
it or
to
not,
get,
we
you
still-
had to have it voted for to
You
get
had
the
to have
money.
it voted for to get the
Correct.
money back, and it was presented to the community as such. The other one, I don't. That may well have been. It was.
It was about 4.6, it was playgrounds, it was doors, it was window, it was safety, it was that kind of
Yeah.
lighting.
Lights.
Yeah.
The others was Excel, it was, I believe it was like not, just under $1 million, 960.
That's where I
980,
remember
something
it
like
being
that.
it being a smaller issue.
That was for security only.
That was, okay.
The only thing we covered in the survey in 2007 was turf, if memory serves.
To be
The,
on, yeah, I think 2011 is probably our main concern right now.
Well, it's just because.
Well, that's the one that's most recent in people's minds, so.
in the number of interviews that we're able to get with the methodology that I was going to recommend this time around, the Survey Monkey, number of interviews we got in 2012 was 780. If you count the people that we interviewed with pencil and paper questionnaires or over the phone in 2012, we got almost 1,000 people. It's a pretty good chunk of the community, and almost as large as some of the voter turnouts that we've gotten. So we're getting, or at least able to get, a good deal of community involvement in all this. That's one of the reasons why you want to do things like this, because it's a consciousness-raising exercise. It helps the community understand what's being debated and discussed.
Proposing the survey would take effect as close to immediately as possible and would close on Sunday, September 29th. And David could provide a brief overview in early October for the board in terms of the trends and some of the immediate feedback. We thought that if we scheduled a special board meeting that first week of October for no other purpose than just receiving sort of the tally and the trends and the temperature of the community, then we could deliberate throughout October of what we feel would be an appropriate bond if we felt that, and what specific items to address in that bond.
It also gives people more opportunity to come out and have their voices heard. So
Absolutely.
we don't have anybody saying, I couldn't make it that night. It gives them a couple of nights to.
The two, sir.
Will that affect the timeline
Yes.
of the state? So we've decided not to go out before 2013.
We could meet the timeline. One of the issues is in order to receive approval from the state, so we could go out with bids and my word is stick a shovel in the ground and do some work. If our target is next summer, the summer of 14, and we plan backwards all of the different red tape and timelines we need to meet from the state, we're looking at a vote in December.
Right.
Now, the earlier the board decides whether we want to do a project and what's in the project, then we have 45 days to communicate and go through our legalese. So the earlier we deliberate and the earlier we decide, the earlier in December we could have that vote and get approval and start the project.
The only reason I'm saying is, we want to hear what the public says, but at the same time, the technology piece, I think that's one that we said is a very, very important.
Very time sensitive
And that's
here.
why we are thinking of going out in December, is because of the time, because the implementation for the possible testing in the future and everything along those lines. I just wanted to make sure we want to hear the public, but we also at the same time want to be able to make sure we're going to be able to meet the needs of the students if the public agrees.
Some of the other
and
issues, Carson, are
approve it.
infrastructure, and those are things you want to do when the children are not in school.
I know,
So
but
that's
that-
why
yeah.
you'd want this summer as well.
Yeah.
Dr. Swerdloff, I think, said that he would ideally like to start some of the technology stuff over the Christmas break.
No, mid,
Not this Christmas.
no,
this
no.
Anyway,
Spring break, spring break.
I think
spring
we're
break.
getting ahead, though.
Yeah.
We just
Yeah.
want a nice
No.
present.
No, I mean, my only, that was why I'm asking, is because, I mean, if that's the case, we need to meet sooner than later, because we.
That's why we're
That's
we've
why
done,
I'm here.
David,
And I
and
just
we're
wanna
going
make
to do
sure
a
that we're
special
gonna be
board
able- I
meeting.
didn't want this to be put off until after the new year, and then we're gonna miss those dates and stuff like that.
That's why we're doing the special board
Not to say it's
meeting
gonna
in
be approved,
early
but-
October.
Yep, okay.
The crucial things from a timing point of view, from my end of it, are we get the exact wording and number, the dollar figures nailed down, which I think we've got, and we get as much public awareness and public participation as we can get, so we can get close to 780 people. That's a lot of people, and that's a good thing we should be pushing for. As far as your timing. I think that a couple days at this end might help. I wouldn't recommend pushing this thing off until November, based on my hokey little survey. But a couple days up front to do this kind of thing, I think can help. If only to help you scuff off a few rough edges on the proposals. Make sure that you're not setting off anything that you don't want to set off.
Where we are now, David has the estimated costs of the various pieces of what we would like feedback on, and if we're so inclined, we could, David and I could wrap that up, turn the survey on, put it on our website. We would communicate through a press release. We would have a letter, kind of a letter to the community on the website. Last time we did this survey, we sent a postcard home with the timeline of the survey, the rationale of the survey, and how to access the survey. That is a quick turnaround to communicate the interest. And really, the intent is to get the temperature of the committee, or of the community. Nothing's set in stone. And Carson, as you said, there are no decisions, and there's a lot of deliberating. But we need a good chunk of time up front to get the temperature.
Yeah,
So
I think this is the time to do this, and I would hope it would be of help to you.
So if we're feeling good about this mechanism of receiving feedback, David and I can spend the next 36 to 48 hours together to make sure it's live and ready to go, and hopefully turn it on by the end of the week.
Just thinking about it.
I have a question.
Like, Ellen, you had mentioned last time, some of the senior citizens, even though we thought we got it out really, really, really well, how do we make sure that those at places where they don't have kids in school are going to be made aware of it, if I'm saying that correctly?
Well, there are lists of the entire community, all the voters in the community, and so if we want to postcard
that way
them,
instead.
Yeah, I would send it to everybody in the community.
Absolutely.
especially all the registered voters.
You
I
send
mean,
a postcard.
yeah.
The postcard,
Yeah.
telling them what to
You're
do.
not talking about sending it home in a backpack, you're talking about
The
sending
A
a
postcard
mailing.
drop.
Right.
That's that's the only
that
expense
everybody
really
gets
that's
it.
involved here, and I don't know what your going rate is, but that's, as you know, the survey doesn't cost anything. I don't charge anything.
That's the question that we're gonna be asked by the public, and I'm gonna ask it now. What expense is it? I mean, what's the cost for
For
us
the
to,
postcard.
to do the survey, because
He
that
just
came
said
up.
nothing.
Nothing?
Survey is nothing.
We have a contract with.
Well, I'm talking with the survey, but any expense, like if we have to do the mailing, because that will come up, there will be community members that will question us.
There are. I don't know what the postcard mailing expenses were. We knew what it was last time, and we can tell you what that is.
Okay.
It wasn't very much, my recollection.
Could we go to the
The
senior
post,
citizen
We still will.
club?
the
Yeah,
postcard
because I
also
think
can be
that's
free
important.
if we send it as bulk.
But the problem with bulk is there's no guarantee when it'll arrive, so they may get it after the survey's there, so they say, bulk is a very cost-effective way, but it's not the best way to get it out to the public, because it can get there in 2 to 3 weeks. It may go by Pony Express to work itself back around to where we have to get to, and it'll be too late at that point.
The Pony
So-
Express is pretty quick, but
The most cost-effective way, and I had this conversation, David and I spoke about this as well as Beth Gruber, the most effective way is to try to be as digital as possible and send as much paper home with children. So if we need to do a mailing to residents who have no children, that lessens the impact of the cost. The only way to guarantee that everyone heard it the same way is to put a postcard to all residents. But we can get a number on
Well,
that.
even if we do it, just when we come back to the next board, after we do it, just let the public know what we spent on it,
Sure.
because this way,
Yeah.
full transparency,
Yeah.
and there's no question.
last time, my recollection is the whole thing was under 2,000. It was
Yeah.
$300 through what I was spending, 15, 18
And I
bucks for
realize
the
that, but
postcard.
we'll have community members who question
No,
us
no.
spending that
Yeah,
$2,000.
we can get that out.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't think we need a
Have
real.
to put on your salary.
Yeah,
You'll have to
Or
give
yours.
back a little. Yeah, or yours or mine.
you're here more than I am. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this. It's we really appreciate it, and it's really great how the numbers correspond so well with the vote. I mean, you don't know if it's accidental, but it is something about the methodology. It is.
I do have some self-respect here.
It's
Yeah,
a-
it could
no,
just
it's
be
a reliable predictor,
totally
Yeah.
fictitious, but it's useful, I think.
It's a service, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
And this won't be the last time, though, that we come and talk to you.
Do you need a resolution?
Well,
don't think so.
I don't, we can have, I think we should open it up. I'd love to hear, does anybody have any thoughts? Why don't we open up to audience comments first? Do you have anything to add? Okay. Then would the board like to comment on this?
Well, I think it's just a very good way of getting a feel for what the community, decides is important or not important. And I think there's certain things that have been designated there on our have-to-do list. It's not a want, it's a need, and I think that
I think
I
that's,
think it's very important to have the community behind all of these issues.
but I think it's important to realize that this, I can say in advance, this survey is not, it's all about asking about, it's an educational tool as well, to let people know this is our need, and these are the things that we're looking at, and these are the concerns that we have going forward. And, we're trying, it's to educate them about this and ask them to educate themselves as well, to listen to, ask the questions. And let us know what you think as well, because we can't answer your questions if we don't know what your concerns are. So with this survey, that will certainly give us an idea of what the community thinks is important, and what they're, and making them realize what our needs are here in the school as well.
And there
So.
may also be a need that we haven't identified that the community feels is important to them.
Absolutely. That there will be an opportunity for that in the survey as well.
I think-
Carson?
Is there a way, David, I don't know, as we're talking about getting it out to the community, some of it will be very straightforward. Septics, doors, security, and all that.
There is an opportunity for
there's
that.
there's some people that are not from the technology age that may not know the reason why we need the technology, and they may say no. You know what I'm saying? Is there a way we can educate a little bit why the technology is needed, what's coming in the educational, the testing, and why, where our capacity is? Because there are a lot of, as we were talking about the seniors that may not have computers or whatnot, and may not know the reason why we have to spend $2 million on technology.
In a simple terms, what you want to get back from the survey is how big a problem that is. If it's a big problem, then you know what's ahead of you, what kind of education, what kind of communication tasks you have to achieve before you can get a positive vote or any vote. If it's not a big problem, then you have a different kind of thing. You focus on something else. The nature of this is that you strive for clarity and simplicity, so everybody understands what you're asking about. You don't try to do a sales job under the guise of a survey. You can't do it. It doesn't work. So what I think we've got is a fairly straightforward wording explaining exactly what the money's going to but not necessarily why or why it's a good idea. And if that, then you come back with a lot of negatives towards that. Then you got to do what you're talking about, and you're into a whole different ballpark. If you can get, it's just a matter of how big the negative and how big the positive responses are.
One of the things that we were just talking about, when Mr. Hochreiter came on board, he did a survey of people in the community, and one of the things that came out was that at least half the people who responded to that think we need to do something to the buildings. That there's things that have to be done, and it ranged, as always, from here to there. There's a lot of things. This is a response to that. What is it that people perceive? I mean, when I look at the district, I see a district. We have one building that was originally built in 1923, another building that was built in 1968, 66. I'll do it chronologically.
Go ahead.
1923 and added on to several times. 1957, Frank G. Lindsay went into service. 1966, Furnace Woods went into service. 1968, Blue Mountain went into service, and it was later added on to. In 1972, BV went into service. We've had some additions over the years since then, but these schools were all built in a period of time before Title IX, before IDEA, before No Child Left Behind, before Race to the Top, all of which adds requirements to how you educate students and what you need. So we're looking at several infrastructure things that we've got to bring up to code. No, I'm talking to different people, but just like last night at the BVPTA meeting, a parent had a question about the size of the classroom, and Joe brought it up. Over the years, state minimum requirements have changed, and some of our buildings are grandfathered in. We have to look at things and see what's going on, and so we're asking people what they perceive, and they have an open-ended way to tell us what they want. We're asking about certain things, and then there's a chance for you to say, this is what I think the district needs, and that might range from a paint job.
Yep.
There will be an opportunity
Yep,
for that
yep.
as well, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The board has discussed, I think we can just, if you'd like, if anybody has any objection, please say so, but I think right now, it would be, to ask Mr. Hochreiter and Mr. White to please go ahead and do what they need to tweak this survey and send it out and get this information, so, as soon as possible. So,
I was just going to say, perhaps even though we may not be required to do it, perhaps we should I'd like to do a resolution just to approve the conducting of the survey and the reasonable expenses associated with it, because I think I'd just like to ask for a motion.
okay, can I get a motion to approve the resolution as Marion described?
I was doing the first motion, so I can do the first and then.
I'll second.
Okay.
All those in favor? Aye.
I can articulate that better if you want. I know.
Well, that's what I figure. I'm like, it's the legal thing. I'm
no,
like,
I think,
you lost me. So.
Resolution to conduct the survey that we discussed.
This would be an
It's reasonable.
opportunity for committee, for audience comments.
I just want to say that the clarity and the simplicity of these questions has to be utmost important, because these senior citizens, the people that have kids that have graduated, that are finished with college, they're gone. I have just on Tate Avenue, I've got about 4 people that are ready to sell their houses. So they're not looking to add any expenses, and their houses aren't going to go up for another year or 2. So you're going to have to do a good job with these questions. Not that they don't realize and have grandchildren that are in the gadget and technology forum, but they need to be spelled out specifically what this is for, what's mandated, what's unfunded, what does that mean, because still people don't know what unfunded means and they don't know what mandated means. The question I have is, if you go with the technology, there was an article in the paper about portals, that we will have to pick one of 3 portals. Is that part of this technology? Will that fit into it, or is that a separate issue? Those are questions that you may get from people, but I'm not quite sure what it is. This is New York State with these portals. So even though you have one, you're going to have to pick one of 3 if that's true and according to this mandate. Right now, you don't have to pay for it. That's something that the public may not know, or they may know. I don't know how many people read or stay up to date with anything that's going on from New York State, but it keeps, every day seems to be a new item that comes down. So I would
Welcome to our world.
yeah, no, I understand that, but it's just a point that the public really needs to understand this. I don't know how many people watch Board of Ed meetings. Some people say they're sleepy, so they don't watch them, but they can be very informative. But you guys really have to get out into that public with this survey, whether it's you stand in Dunkin' Donuts and you hand it out, you do something that discusses it, and for the people that don't have computers, there's got to be another way to reach them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is this just discussion of the survey or general discussion? It's general.
Mr. Hawkrider earlier mentioned the Hall of Fame weekend. As the vice chairman of the Hall of Fame committee, I'd like to invite all the administration and the school board members, a few of whom were there last year, and I'm sure they had a good time, to the dinner. It's October 18th at 7 o'clock at Colonial Terrace. And the Hall of Fame game, I believe, is always at 5 o'clock, and it is against Croton, which is a nice rival. They're a very good team, and we almost beat them last year, which was a big surprise. Maybe we can do it this year. And some of the classes schedule their homecoming around that weekend, so it's a really fun weekend. I'll get something to Mary Pat about the dinner and stuff, so we'd like to invite everybody to that. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. John DeBenedictis. First on the survey. I would strongly recommend, and I'm not sure exactly how you're going to go about this, but put out this survey to the people who don't have that much of a vested interest in the district. In other words, if you have 700 people responding, most of those people are going to be parents, okay? Have a very big vested interest here. Right off the top almost, you'll get most of them saying, go for it, go for it. But it's the people who do not really have that vested interest. The people that are worried about their taxes, their mortgages are less than their monthly school taxes, they're the people that are going to tell you when it comes to vote, and we've already seen this happen once, that they are the ones who are going to tell you what's going to happen. And I strongly suggest that somehow you reach those people, not just parents, because, and a few people who might have something to do that would benefit from this particular project, okay? And like I say, we've been down there. And speaking of the septic field, last meeting, I mentioned that I thought we had to do a better job breaking down these costs. And I said during the vision, the septic fields were slated for $1 million. And I got some feedback from you that said, no, no, no. Well, I went to the tape, okay? And this is the presentation that was set up by the district, by KSQ, who was, by the way, the designated preferred contractor, okay? And if you look at this, it clearly shows. Now, unfortunately, I was very late tonight, and I didn't get a chance to really make a copy that's really readable. But you can have this, or I'll be more than glad to email you. And this is not my deal. I mean, this has got KSQ written all over it. This comes right from the district. And it shows here clearly $1 million, and it shows an extended cost of $1,130,000. Okay? Now, I didn't make that up. The district did. And I think we have to do a better job, because that septic field has components, and we all know it does, okay? Any one of those components can be bad, or any one of those components can be good, and you don't need to replace them. There's about 4 components in there. You've got some pumps, you've got leaching fields, you've got tanks, and a couple of other things. And they're all priced accordingly. You do the whole job, it could be $1 million. But I don't think, really know. And it'll be almost 2 years since the vision was put up. And, I mean, I know that we keep worried about these fields, how bad they may be. But I don't think we really know what's wrong with them. And how did we determine this $1 million figure? Okay? I mean, who did it? Did we have a couple of sewage contractors come in there and check it all out? Did we bid it out? I mean, where's the $1 million? Where's the $8 million plus coming from? What's the bid process? I mean, KSQ last time, who was, like I say, was the designated contractor. Remember, they gave us about, between 80 and 100 hours of free engineering, with obviously the intent of getting the job. They were also talk about them being the designated contract manager, because KSQ is this one be-all operation,
You lost me here with the question, though.
I'm sorry?
Your main question is what about the cost of the septic? Or
I'm talking about, right, and I'm talking about that, and the question is, how did the number come up, and was it like a competitive bid thing? In other words, you just if you're going to buy an addition to on your house, you don't just bring one contractor in.
No, I'm aware.
Okay.
That's
the question that we have to look at. And as I said, I will email you better copies of this, because it is very difficult to read, and unfortunately, I just didn't have the time tonight to pop this for you. So, thank you.
The number, what'd you say?
I was going to.
John, I'll find out exactly how many bidders were in on that, unless, I don't believe it, I don't know if anybody knows right off the top of their head, that determination 2 years ago.
Actually, there's not a bid process until you
But I mean, that was
until
an
you get
estimate.
it approved. It's an
That was an
estimate.
estimate,
That
but
was
I
an
mean, and
estimate that we made. We hired.
But I'm guessing that it was probably something that KSQ used from their, historical. They've done this with other schools, with other, numbers that, student population, and they probably figure it's a cost of this much for a school with 600 kids, this much for a cost of a school with 1,000 children. I'm sure that, it's an estimate. I'd have to assume that it's from their but I mean, it's not
Actually,
money
no.
spent. It's an estimate at this point. It was to give that idea.
There was
In
a
regard to
contractor.
notifying everybody, I believe that David did mention that there was a conversation about postcards going out to all registered voters. And those are the individuals because we absolutely, contrary to whatever, we do want to hear from the senior citizens. We do want to hear from the empty nesters. We want to hear from the people who live in this community, because this is something that impacts their schools and our community. So it's all of ours. It's all our responsibility. So We want to hear from everybody. I mean, I would be thrilled if we beat that 780 number. I'd be thrilled. So, thank you.
If I may just interject without coming back on.
You have to come back up, John.
I don't know if it's possible, but we have an election coming up here in November. If we were trying to poll people as they went into the election booth.
No, we can't wait
You
that
can't
long.
do that. You can't.
Nope.
Okay. Well, that's my question. I don't know if
Thank
you
you.
could, but there you'd get a sizable population coming in.
No, that'd be wonderful, but
Okay. Well, it was just a thought.
not if, I mean, the septics, you want to do that when the kids aren't in school.
Right. Okay. Well, it's
So.
just it was a thought.
But John, you also said something about, anybody that has a vested interest in the community or thing.
Yeah.
Your school district is where, that if you have a vested interest in this community, your school district's where it starts. And what we're proposing now is not the, as you would say, the Meadowlands of the North or the
Carnegie
metropolitan operas of the North.
Right.
We are going out with just explicit, everything that's a need, that in order to keep the building and the district going. We heard everybody loud and clear. You keep referencing it. We heard you. And that's why we're doing it. That's why we're taking the extra step. But when you say vested interest, I hope everybody that has a vested interest will look at what we're proposing and say that those are the things that keep the buildings going forward. And we're not looking to make we're not looking to make this like the Taj Mahal. So that's what, So
I couldn't agree with you more. And as a person who has a vested interest in the district, but I am talking to the people or about the people who honestly and truly do not look at it this way, do not have children in the school district, and are, and they're the people who, luckily for us as a district, and I include myself into this. I know sometimes I'm come off maybe as negative to you, but we are lucky. Oh no!
Sorry.
I didn't know. I didn't think that at all.
Anyway, John, seriously.
But what I'm saying is, though, and we are lucky to an extent, because if those people, and I say the majority of those people, really were active instead of staying home watching ice dancing with the stars or something, it'd be pretty rough for us to get anything done around here.
Well, that's the postcards, and I think that's the best way to
Right.
reach them. And we will be reaching out to the various.
Well, I think there's
institutions
something
as
that you
well.
got to think about.
So thank you.
I think we do have to reach out to the various senior citizen groups in our community, and hopefully, that will be one way of making them aware of what we're intending to do.
Right.
But it does make a difference, and I think anybody who tries to sell their home or, feels that that's an important thing, realizes too, people coming in to buy their home are certainly going to look at the schools and, how well they're kept, so.
Well, again, there's plenty of people who will tell you about how they know real estate people and they're having problems because the taxes are so high. But that's another, that's a whole other discussion here that doesn't count for what we're talking about here right now. But in fact, I know somebody right now who had a buyer or a prospective buyer, and they said no, it was just going to be too much to live here, and they didn't go. I mean, so, but that again, now we've got a whole
thank you.
other issue. Okay.
Thank you. All right. I think we've heard from everyone. Well, thank you for your input. Watch for your postcard. We absolutely are. We say this every year when we're looking for people to vote. When we're looking for input, we are begging you to get involved. We're begging you to please become educated and find out. And we all would like to see that 780. We'd love to see more than that, as many as possible. And again, thank you very much, David, for doing this. You're truly an asset, and we very much appreciate your efforts, because I know you'd rather be watching ice dancing with the stars.
I just want to make one technology statement. Can we get the library Wi-Fi working again so we could use our iPad?
Okay, well, put it.
Yes. I couldn't get mine working. Vote yes.
There you go. Well, thank you. That brings us to our next, and hopefully this will not be a very long. One of the things that we did discuss, and we just need to put like the final point on, is our committees. We all, about a month or two ago when we had our board retreat, we all signed up for committees. There were just a couple that were not, we have a couple questions, not completely completed. One was respect committee. There is no one on that Did you choose to be on that? All right, so I'll put you on that, okay? We do not have, I know that you have also, one other person for SEPTA, the special ed PTA. I know there's, I didn't, I have you as an, no.
I think you did, you said
Yeah.
too, right?
So you're going to be an alternate, or are you going to go full-time? Alternate?
Go as often as I can.
Okay, so I'll put you as sort of,
Well, they can
I
just-
can't
Alternate.
promise
So
I'll
we
go
have
to
to-
every
yeah, we
single
can
meeting.
no, we have that, we had, Mary and I had you as a, we just try and have a couple of alternates for the PTA meetings, just because it's, as frequently as they are, it's difficult, and the other one was,
Let me just ask a question.
we have, okay.
That's a case where it's okay for more than 3 of us to be in a room at the same time, in a meeting like that.
Well, I just want to
We
make
can't-
sure that there's sufficient coverage, because it's so,
Yeah,
that's
4
where,
or 5 of
We
them.
want to make
If-
sure there's at least one, never
No,
mind.
no, 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 no,
Exactly.
no, but some of those are quite good, and so are there other meetings, and it's okay if we're not there all sitting at the same table making decisions, but
Okay.
if we can all go to one of those.
well, I have no, like I said, I just want to make sure there's, because it's so important to go to those meetings, because there's a lot decided. Furnace Woods PTA also did not, there's only,
Me.
correct you, but is there an alternate just in the event you can't make it?
I
Is
can,
there any?
I can do that if she
Barbie,
wants.
All right,
If
Kirsten,
she
I'll
can't
put you
make
down
it.
as an alternate, okay? And then the only other one is strategic planning, and we have Carol and Charles. I know that's once I
We
know
only
that
meet a
there's,
couple
I'll be an
times
alternate,
this
I mean,
year.
yeah.
I think
want-
this year's just 2 meetings.
correct,
at
it's
the end
just
of the
2
year.
meetings, but there's so many different groups, I just didn't want it
So when
to
you wanna
just
be
make
on
sure
one?
that there was sufficient coverage. All right, the only other question, and then there was a discussion about grant committee. I know that Lori and Carson, you guys have been very
Nothing's happened though, that's.
correct. Beth Gruber is doing a lot of work with it, so I'm just wondering if that's something that perhaps we can work out and work with Beth on. Would you, two, be interested in, working out something like that?
Yep, that's fine.
Yes?
Yep.
Okey-doke. So I got 2 more
That's
X's,
peachy.
so we can check them.
As long as it's
I'll
not-
fix it and send it to you. I've been getting a lot of grief. The other topic this evening is our protocols. We picked them up from last time. So I didn't make enough copies because I was doing it this morning. The red represents, if you guys can just pass it down. The red represents the changes since, Joe, if you don't, just share here. Oh, there you go, they want to leave. So we do have enough copies if they're leaving. So, I thought that was you. All right, so, here you go. Don't worry, Carson, you're getting it. Here you go, if you can pass it down. So the only other, the red represents the changes, except for the capitalizations and the complete sentences. Those I didn't highlight. I will go back through again and get a few more periods and punctuation that's missing, because I'm sure that's, but the red, if you just look over, we were fine with everything except for the changes that were made with the red. In particular, it was adding the superintendent's role to be the primary media contact along with me, and to change with the superintendent to my roles and responsibilities.
Are we leaving this one here and
I think
was
so.
that discussed?
When possible and available.
Okay.
So,
What about if you're incapacitated in way, the vice president, shouldn't you put something in there? If you're incapacitated, you can't be for whatever thing, that the vice president would be the next one?
if I lose my mind, you can.
No, no.
You,
If you're out of town on business.
is
or
that?
something, or
I
if
believe
you're-
that is on there, isn't it? She
It just
stands in
says-
for the president when he or she is not available.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should we put /crazy?
No, I was just saying on that particular note right there, 12.
Oh, in that
'Cause
regard
you're-
too.
'cause you're
Well, I
spelling
think
it out.
this is
It's
the where it says
spelled
when
out
she's not
under-
available. I think
right.
that's sort of a blanket.
It's spelled out under the board
Don't
vice
worry,
president's rules.
I just want Barbara's name.
Good, I like it.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Well, not,
Wait, I just-
we added a few more of the issues, that a little more detail for the confidentiality, just to, because frankly, a lot of what we do discuss is confidential. It's a lot of things that it it affects children, it affects, things that, staff. So I think it's very important that we do just keep it, only
But
talk
you
about
need
what we can and protect people's
Deemed
privacies.
confidential or not, I mean, it is deemed confidential.
So then
if
just
you're
take that
talking-
out?
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
think.
because
why
it's
not?
almost
That
redundant?
was in the North Salem ones, and I think the problem is you may be talking about something in exec that may not be specifically confidential under open meeting laws, and we still want to keep it confidential. It was in the North Salem. I don't.
Yeah, I don't
should-
think.
I
but
think
that
it's
when we
redundant,
discuss it
though.
in there,
It is. It may be.
you know?
And it may be redundant with the phrase before discussion.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying, I think if we just put discussed in executive period, and then we can
Okay,
take,
that's
because it
fine.
is.
Yeah, we
redundant.
can take. Okay,
But,
I thought, I'm just trying to.
The reason that we're doing this, just for everybody's, is just because, I think it's important for everybody's roles and responsibilities and authority to be defined, so that we're letting our superintendent and assistant superintendent, and the parties that, actually are part of, this district employees, let them do their jobs. Let them, go through the chain, people go through the chain of command. Let the people who have the I don't want to say, experience, have the experience and have the, have sometimes the big picture, and let them, we can provide input and provide our perspective, when they, when necessary. But I think it's important to let things go through the individuals that we're actually have put in these positions to make these decisions and to manage these situations for us. I don't know if anybody's any thoughts on these or any.
Very good.
Thank you for your work on it.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Carson, you have been very quiet.
I won't express my opinion on it, so that's.
But I think it's,
It varies from a lot of people, so I'm a good soldier.
but you do
I'll fall into
understand
place
why
and do
we're
what
trying to,
I do, but I
the
don't
logic.
I do, but I don't agree. So
Why?
Why? Because I think I've been voted on by the public. If something happens, if people feel free, they can come to me, and I should be able to go to the people and address their concerns without having to follow a chain of command or make sure it's in my board, in the board
But
protocol.
I think what
So
you
that's just the way I take my
No,
job.
But if
So
somebody
it's-
comes to you and says, this is my problem, what we're trying to show here is that you should go to the people who we're actually paying to handle it and say,
I just find
Joe, Enrique, Alice, John Owens, wherever, or ask the people, have you talked to your teacher? Because I think for us
We
to.
do, but I don't need a piece of paper to tell me what I can and can't do. I didn't sign on for that when I came on to be the board member. I came on to listen to the public, to be a liaison.
But we are listening. At no
No, we
point
are,
does
but-
it say
but
that we're,
there's-
no,
there's-
this is just, this
I know, but
dictates
just-
how we're going to handle what we hear.
No, that's fine. Exactly, but I don't agree with a lot of it, so I don't have to. I'm going to follow. I'll say aye right now, and we'll approve it. But I'm going to still conduct business the way I've done it. I want to make sure that when someone comes to me, I want to make sure I follow through on it. So that's.
I just think it's important for you to realize that we're not saying, because you're
Okay,
suggesting
that's-
that those of us who think that this is a useful tool, that's what this is.
Okay.
Who are saying that this is a useful tool are not responsive to the public or not listening,
No,
just
I'm not saying
because
that.
we're not saying, stepping in, and we're not here to solve, to do all that.
I just.
My responsibility, somebody calls me up and says, I have a problem, my son's, I had a problem with the principal.
I don't want to beat this into a
No,
dead
but
end.
I
It's
just think
my-
it's
it just-
important
it's
to
just-
realize
but
that.
That's fine, but I look at my role a little differently than other people do in their role here, and again, I will be a good soldier. I'll follow through, do what I have to do. But when I need to do the way Carson's done it in the past, I will do it the way Carson's done it in the past. And I think there's other board members that will do that as well too.
Well, we're not.
but I don't want to beat it again.
No, but I'm trying to just make you realize that this does.
I'm fine.
You're
This is great.
suggesting no, but
This is great.
I'm insulted by it, because what you're suggesting is that
I don't-
if
it was not
we
meant to be
follow this
insulting.
act, these tools, you're suggesting that perhaps that we're not being responsive or we're not listening.
I'm not
We're
saying- I'm
absolutely
not saying
listening.
that
We
at
are
all.
just trying to put these people into
Okay.
connecting
what,
them with the
Mary Pat,
people
this
who
is
actually
fine.
can make the decision.
It's fine.
Gonna follow through the way, because what you're suggesting is we have no individual authority as a board member.
No, I'm
You
not-
can't direct somebody, you can't tell
I'm
somebody
not.
to do something. So you, There are rules that are set down by the state that we have to follow. There are laws.
We do follow the rules, but there's different ways of getting things done, Charles. And what you're basically trying, I read this as is you're trying to define, again, I will do it, I'm supposed to, but like I said, and I've said
There
it to
are
my-
laws, though, that dictate what we can and can't do.
And exactly, and I don't think I've ever broken the law, so, quite honestly, so, that's the thing, so, but.
But to me, well, let me finish.
Right.
To me, it's like the rules of the game.
I don't need a lecture, so.
I'm just,
No, like I said, Carson, I just want you to realize that,
That's fine. How
that-
many times am I gonna say, it's fine, let's move on?
no, yeah, that's usually, that's what my husband says too, and he doesn't agree, and we, and just to, but the reality is what we're trying
You guys
to.
been married for a long time, so that's.
What we're
that's
trying to
fine.
accomplish,
So it's,
and I'm sure you've worked it with your wife too, but what we're trying to accomplish is just to establish that these are essentially the protocols, and that if somebody calls and has this issue, that you have to put them in touch with the people who, with the appropriate person. We can't just end run like somebody and not give them the opportunity to fix something. I mean, somebody has a problem with their teacher. You can't just go and say, I'll fix it. They should talk to the principal and work from there
I'm
and
talking
give.
about other situations, but that's fine,
But I mean, I'm talking, it's within the same purview here. It's the
Okay.
same.
I understand. And don't be insulted, but you know what, you're beating a dead horse right now. I said I'd move on,
Oh, I won't be insulted.
you already said you were insulted, so
I was insulted by the other stuff. This
No, I
just,
think, Carson, we all respect your.
There's no,
I'm
and,
not-
and
you know
we
what,
respect
and I
your right
don't-
to be
I-
a conscientious
quite
objector.
honestly, I
but
don't lose
either
sleep if
way.
anybody
Yeah,
doesn't, so
no.
I'm gonna beat to the drum that I beat to, and I'm gonna continue to be the person I am and do the job that I think I was voted here for, so, that's it.
I still think it's important for you
That's fine.
to realize that you
I
have to
see.
let the people who work here do their jobs
we
as
do.
well.
We do,
Sometimes.
okay.
I don't like, I'll join on the bandwagon for a second, where it says parental and staff inquiries. It only says, the last sentence says, board members do not investigate or attempt problem solving. Well, what if we're asked to by the superintendent? Like it says, the superintendent does the problem solving with staff assistance as necessary.
Well, yes, we get it when the superintendent, when somebody has a problem with the superintendent. At that point, it is that it is something that we become directly involved. What they're suggesting is that somebody says, my daughter didn't get an A and she deserved it in that class. You should not be talking to that, or you should say, or she didn't get into the class she wanted, or this. We shouldn't be doing that. That is the principal's responsibility, and the teacher should talk to the parents should talk to the principal and say, why is this happening? And if they don't get the response that they need, that they don't feel that they were heard, then they go the next step to the assistant superintendent and say, I tried going to the teacher and the principal, and I didn't get, inappropriate. I didn't feel that I was heard. So can you please clarify this, or can we work further? That's all we're asking people. That's what this is just defining people's roles and what their jobs are, and having people do them. I mean, if you look, you have the board responsibilities and roles, and it's basically to let the superintendent do his. And when he's not, then we follow through on that. It's basically just essentially allowing the individuals that were put in each one, because we hired the superintendent. We hired him to do this job. We hired our assistant superintendent to do this job. We should let them do it. The same reason people put you in office, Carson, it's the same reason we hired them. And we'd like them to do what we put them here for. And that's,
Get in the way of that.
well,
There's one other, as the hearer of last resort, especially in terminations and those kind of hearings, if you taint what you hear, you're only supposed to decide on what you hear within the hearing room. And if you've gone out and investigated beforehand or tried to solve the problem beforehand, and then you decide the thing on something that you didn't hear presented to you, then you can taint that termination. You can nullify it. So that's the part.
I think I'll get a little bit more specific. We had, that Mary Pat and I were involved with last year, there was a certain situation that I would not change the way we handled it. Although some people disagreed with it, I would not change the way it was handled. Because I don't want anybody to feel like I don't know if I can further the conversation, to tell you the truth.
Why don't you and I talk about it later?
Okay?
It'd probably
You
be
understand?
easier.
Like, I
I'm
would
sure.
not, even though some people on the board would appreciate us not handling it that way, I would have never have changed the way, because I had more questions.
I would just ask, I mean, we're all professionals, we're all adults, and
Right.
if we have a problem with the protocols, you can always talk to Joe, and not everybody's gonna be
And
perfect.
again, this
We're
is not
perfect.
saying that you can't
and
talk
we
to him.
have
I
our
mean,
own
if you have a
interpretations,
question,
so-
you can
yeah,
go to,
so-
you can ask
yeah.
for more
Especially if something
information.
that was that important.
Absolutely. This does not tell you that you can't do this. It just is saying that to let them handle it first. Because, again, as you're watching it, or as you're, and because you will be part of it, because people talk, because people ask. And we're not saying completely stand off, but by the same token, let the people who we've, in the positions to do it, whether it's the principal, the teacher, the assistants, whomever, let them do their job. And at that point, when if somebody is still not satisfied that they've not been heard, or something has not been resolved that they think fairly, at that point, then we would get, because otherwise we can't, we've already been involved. It's almost like we've tainted the waters. So it makes more sense to try and, again, Joe, we're counting on you here. So.
Well, I think also beyond that, as a new board member, I really can say, in all honesty, I'm sure you could say, we didn't really always know how things should necessarily be handled. If we received an email from somebody, now we know it says very distinctly, the board
Yes,
president answers all the emails, and we will know when, you have done that. I really wasn't sure of some of the protocols that should be followed, so, it's very good to have everything spelled out. When I came on board, I would ask you, because you were the board president, but there was no place you could go to see things specifically spelled out, So for that, I think it's a very positive thing.
And it's, if you
It
look.
defines everybody's roles.
Yeah, and the information, I mean, this isn't something that we've made up. This is something that we have actually culled from numerous other boards, from NISBA. This is a culmination of a lot of information from a lot of places to find the system that would work best for us. And that was the goal here. So, with that in mind, this is, do we need a vote, or do we need anything on this, or can we just pretty much agree to that these are going, is this another resolution?
I think, and we can, put it as a, regulation or call it.
Put
as
it
a
into our
protocol.
policy book or
Yeah,
something?
we could put it under,
That's the resolution adopting board protocols and.
yeah.
All right, Charles, I'll let you, can I get a motion to approve the board protocols, as presented? And, they will be, they will certainly be on the website. Whether they will be included in the code of conduct, we can discuss with Mr. Hawkrider to determine where it's, so it's available for whomever. And frankly, the flip side is it allows the public to understand, the next, how they're supposed to, go through things as well, what they, their next steps.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the board protocols as written, and we should probably date them for today, 9/11.
9/11/13, with the changes as shown.
Right.
Barb, sorry, can I get a second?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? You gotta vote.
I raised my hand.
Okay,
I second it.
okay.
I still do me.
Well,
One more
there
thing.
you go.
Are
Huh?
we going to arrange coffee hours? Are we gonna schedule
I
it?
will send, I'll put up some dates and I'll send it around. Thank you for reminding me.
And we have one on Monday, there's a coffee hour Monday, correct? For
Oh,
the-
no, we're thinking the
HHCEF.
Dunkin'
Oh, but
Donuts.
this is an HHCEF coffee hour.
Right.
Did we
Thank
tell
you, I will
everybody
put
about
that on my list of things to do, Dunkin' Donut hours.
Is it Monday? Is it the 16th?
Yeah, I think that's the,
I'm sure you reminded everybody.
At the library, the free library.
Yeah, we should say that there's Monday, September 16th, I don't know what time.
7:30.
7:30, okay. To meet the superintendent. Oh, 7 o'clock.
7 to 8:30.
When are you gonna be there, 7 o'clock?
7 to 8:30.
I'll be there at 5.
There you go. So, be there 4:30.
Yeah, Beth is working on a final press release with the flyer, so I'll ask them to decide when they're going to meet, and we'll communicate that.
Terrific.
We'll make sure everybody gets it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any,
No, I think
okay,
next
if I can
Tuesday
get,
is good for
our
Brexit.
next board meeting is 2 weeks from tonight. It would be September 25th. Before that, we do indeed have, come meet your superintendent at the Hen Head Library.
Yep.
The Hen Head Library on Monday at 7 o'clock. We will be doing the Dunkin' Donuts hours. Thank you for reminding me, to both of you. And thank you for coming out.
We have board comment. You forgot board comment.
Oh, I thought it was, no, I thought we were there already.
I just had one board comment, and this is more for the staff of the district and maybe for Mr. Hochreiter. I do this every year. September 18th, next Wednesday, is designated by the U.S. Department of Education as Constitution Day. And every teacher in every public school district is supposed to teach about the Constitution, have some kind of lesson. So I think it's a great day, and it's a great time for our students to learn about our Bill of Rights and just something about the Constitution. And I won't make any editorial comments about what I think about the Bill of Rights, such as the erosion of our personal privacy.
And so we
So
go.
I will not do that.
And you wonder why I didn't give you a different one.
But I think it's really important to learn about the Constitution. So just a message to get it out there, and we're unique democracy, the best in the world. So we should be proud of it.
Well, thank you very much.
I'd like to make a comment about the barbecue last week. It was really exciting, and it was invigorating to be there with all the teachers, and they were so excited and relaxed and ready to go, and they were excited about some of the presentations they saw.
Smokes and mirrors, let me tell you. Go ahead.
But it's a nice time to be around a lot of very interesting people, and see them and say hi to them, and so I thought that was a really good kickoff to the year.
People really enjoyed it, so that
People
was
said
very
there were very
interesting.
positive responses from the teachers and the teacher assistants and everybody who attended. They felt it was really a positive step to have a barbecue as opposed to a breakfast. Most people are running late and just go in and grab a cup of coffee. This gave people an opportunity to sit and talk, and it was very good.
It certainly did.
Thanks for the feedback.
So thank you for coming. Can I get a motion to close?
So moved.
All those in favor? Thank you very much.
What's the matter?